Wolfie, they need a number 9. They need a bagsman. They need someone that's going to put that ball. And I know you can't always sign your top priority first. Sometimes you might sign someone who's at the fourth on your list of priorities, and they come in first because of the length of time it takes to get certain deals done. But I know Gooners will hate this, but from a PR perspective, calming the fans down, having a relaxed summer, if you could get to mid-June and then go, boom, there he is. I don't know who the striker is going to be, whether it's Isak, whether it's Gyokeres, whether it's Šeško, just get that announced and get it over the line. I think that goes a long way to keeping Arsenal fans relaxed and encouraged for the season beginning.
I mean, you look at, obviously, for me, the 4 main targets as far as number 9s are concerned are obviously Isak, Gyokeres, and other than that, you've got Benjamin Šeško and Retegui from Atalanta. Osimhen as well. But for me, the main 2 that we should be probably going for are either Gyokeres or Isak. And the only reason I say that is because they're primed and ready for English football. Fair enough, Gyokeres only spent, a season or 2 at Coventry, but it was still English football. He understands the pace of the game. Whereas if you ask them to go and buy someone like a Šeško or a Retegui or an Osimhen, they need at least a year to acclimatise themselves to the league. And we haven't really got time for that. As Arsenal fans, we're growing impatient.
But the Gyokeres isn't that hard a deal to do because he's got a release clause. I think he's got 100 mil release clause. So if Arsenal really want, there was nothing stopping them doing it in January. If they don't want him though, he's not exactly. There's talks that Sporting would deal at about 60 or 70 million. There's reports yesterday linking Forest now to Gyokeres. If that happens, I know we've talked about the source of air, but if that were to happen, that's just a further embarrassment for Arsenal. That Forest get into the top 4. And then straight away they go and deliver a bagsman. I'd love to see it.
I can see why Arsenal would be a bit iffy on Gyokeres though, because if you look, I watched a lot of sport in the last couple of years because I may or may not have wanted Ruben Amorim to replace Jurgen Klopp, and we saw how well that went. But when Gyokeres plays for Sporting, he's very much a running behind type striker. He can do the drop in and link up, but he wants to be on the shoulder. He wants to be on the counter-attacking transition, running behind defenders. And I don't think that's what Arteta wants from his striker. I think Arteta wants a striker who will play off of the who will play off the wingers and bring everyone else into the game primarily. I don't think Arteta will build a system to maximise a striker in terms of goal output. I think Arteta would build a system which spreads the goals out everywhere in an ideal world where Saka's popping up with 20 and 10 and insert striker here is popping up with 15 and 10 and left winger's popping up with 10 and 15 and it's all spread out neatly. I don't think that Gyokeres does that for Arsenal. I think Gyokeres would be better suited to a team like a Forest or to a team like a United, a team that are quite happy to see possession a little bit to draw teams out.
I hear what you're saying, Tom, but
go over the top.
But the point is, Gyokeres is way better than what they've currently got. He's better than Havertz. He's better than Jesus.
Well, there's a lot of strikers.
They've run out of time. If I'm an Arsenal fan, my patience is this thin on this striker situation.
But they can't make the mistake of panicking and buying a player who doesn't fit what they want to do.
Okay, but they make the mistake with Gyokeres. Let's say they get Gyokeres for 70 million and he flops. He will still have a resale value of probably 50, 55, 60 million.
They're a poor selling club.
But Wolfie, the difference with Arsenal is Arsenal are not a club who will buy a player and if they struggle in the first year, it's spin them off. Let's go get the next one in. Arsenal will stick by him for 3 years. And if in those 3 years, if after year one it's not working, it'll be first year in the Premier League under a new manager. It takes a bit of time. We'll go year 2. Year 2 doesn't work. They'll go, okay, look, he's nearly there now. We're getting there. We're seeing signs. Arsenal, a ruthless club like a City, would buy Gyokeres. He gets 10 goals and they go, right, bin him off. He's not good enough. And
okay, but even with that scenario, and I hear what you're saying, as an Arsenal fan, I'd be more accepting of it because at least they went out and bought a number 9 and not tried to convert an 8 into a 9. I would have more sympathy towards my board that they actually showed the ambition to get me a striker into the team, and then I can say, okay, I will give him some patience, or yes, they did make a mistake, but at least they did. The names, no one's talking about any other names than the 4 or 5 that Alfie mentioned.
Do you know what's really interesting about that, Wolfie? Right, in life. So when I worked in the banking industry, I did some work with procurement, and in procurement they would bring a lot of contractors in, and banks would need contractors for all sorts of reasons. And one of the biggest things was very boring, so I'll get it done very quickly, but it will make sense. Is there's always a lot of reviews that had to happen, especially if there was a feeling that the FCA and the authorities would come and do sort of like a review on a certain department. And you'd hire in contractors because you may not have the workforce to spare to take away from their normal jobs to do the review. Plus, it was good to get outside eyes. In the procurement teams, they would often put out a bidding process so different companies could bid to go, right, we'll put these people in, and they'll do this work, and we'll find out this, and we'll present it in that way, and we can produce, these are the other companies we've worked for, and we can get you 100% ready for an inspection. And the procurement team, essentially, with the sign-off of senior leaders, would go, right, which company are we going to use to come in and help us do this review externally? 9 times out of 10, they would pick from one of the big 4 accounting firms, KPMG, Deloitte, etc. The reason they did that is because, say you went with one of those big firms and they did a shit job reviewing, and the FCA come in and go, this is crap. No one lost their job because you used Deloitte, you used a known name.
Yeah.
If Arsenal go out this summer and sign a player who is at the peak of his powers, that not everyone's going to rate. You're always going to get, I don't quite like him. But if they sign Osimhen, if they sign Gyokeres, if they sign Isak as an example, if it doesn't work, I don't actually think, listen, barring people that despise Arteta, because if it turned out Arteta invented chemotherapy, those people would say he's a bastard for making people bald. The people that hate him, and there's nothing they can do to change that. But if he goes out and signs a serial goal scorer, maybe even someone who's won trophies as well, if it goes wrong, there is going to be far less kickback against him. If they go for a 20-year-old who doesn't score a lot, or they try and sign someone to fix they sign Rasmus Højlund, we're going to fix him, right, as an example.
Exactly.
And it goes wrong, there's no way back from that. And so for me, I just think there has to be this element of buy something that's as close to being a sure thing as possible. Nothing's a guarantee. And most of the strikers that are of the absolute tip-top level, the Mbappes and the Haalands, probably even Isak, really, they're unattainable. Arsenal can't get them. They're either too much money, or they're not for sale, or they don't want to join. But then you've got that group that come after it. And I know that Šeško is the guy that name keeps coming up. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not an Arsenal fan. But I do worry they're going to sign someone that isn't ready to score the goals just yet. I'm genuinely, and I want to say worried. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. If I'm being objective and taking myself away from being a Man United fan, that's a concern signing. I like Šeško. I think there's a really good player in there. Is he ready for that Premier League step up? Because Arsenal are not a team in transition. They're not a team growing. They're a team in title races, and the job is to deliver. And I don't think they have 2 years for Šeško to settle and become that guy. I could be wrong. He might come in straight away, hit the ground running, start bagging loads of goals. But I think Osimhen or Gyokeres should be the number 1 targets for Arsenal if they can't get Isak. And I get your point about the hold-up play and everything else, but I think their hold-up play is pretty good. And by the way, if Gyokeres joins Man United or Forest, it won't be long for Forest, as an example, until more teams start sitting back against them anyway. Because the better the players they buy, the more consistently they win, the less opponents are going to attack them. So I think Gyokeres, I've seen Gyokeres play. I think his hold-up play is pretty good. He's got a good first touch. He's got a bit of skill about him. He's a player that can score his own goals. So he can get the ball on the edge of the box. He can dummy a pass out wide, turn. He can get past a player and rifle it into the bottom or top corner. And I think he could do a very good job against the low block as well, from what I've seen.
I just think. I think Arteta and Arsenal have their eyes set on Isak. If they can't get him, it's Šeško. That's why there was so much talk around it. I think if they wanted Gyokeres, it would have happened last summer, or it would have happened in the January.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't makes me think he's not even on the radar, which then makes me think, okay, what's the plan with Sesko then? Because the one thing I'll say about Arsenal is, yes, Arsenal fans didn't go, well, I'd want you to go out and just buy a striker. When Arsenal were doing that, they were finishing 8th. When Arsenal were just going out and buying a player, they were finishing 8th. What they've done in recent years is wait. They probably wanted Declan Rice a year before they got him, but he wasn't available, so they bided the time, and they didn't panic and stick themselves with a player that isn't good enough, and they can't shift it, or that they've got to stick by because the way they want to run their football club, they can't afford to keep chopping and changing every single
He's out of time. He's out of time. He can't keep kicking the can down the road to the next transfer window. This is now, what phase are we in with Arteta? 4.5, I hear. They're going to, even the most diehard, Egal-like fans of Arsenal are going to have to start, they will start turning on him at some points. Arsenal cannot keep going without trophies.
That will happen. We're going to go to some of these super chats here. First one says, want to see Arsenal competing for years to come. And they should. You've got the core squad there to do it. You just got to keep adding quality to it. And you got to keep spending money, and you got to keep increasing the wages you pay your better players to keep them at the club. And spending money is a crucial part of becoming successful and maintaining success. And it has been that way for over 100 years in English football. It's just the volume of money has gone up. Well said, Tom. You live and die by your recruitment. Arteta wants the right striker for 5 years. If we build too many average players, we'll end up like Chelsea. Wayne here says the Forest fan Wolfie really doesn't know the fan base he is talking about, does he? Arsenal fans are the most fickle, is what he says here.
Oh, I know that.
Riyadh, 16 out of 10. Right, is it Ryan? Or is it Ryan says Tom is clueless and has a slot agenda, saying he should have been starting Elliot, Endo, and Kwanzaa. Elliot is rubbish. And when he starts games, Endo is only useful for a certain situation, and Kwanzaa has struggled this season.
First of all, you're the man who just yesterday messaged me saying Arteta's a better manager than Slot and will take this title race to the last day. And yes, he should have used Elliot, Endo, and Kwanzaa more because our team is tired, and they wouldn't be as tired if the squad options were used more. Gravenberch has just gotten injured on international duty. That might not have happened if he hadn't had to play 90 minutes every single game this season. But yeah, sure, I'm worried about this title race that's going to the last day.
Yeah,
Arteta's going to overturn a 12-point gap.
Crazy.
Anyone else, any Arsenal fan that says otherwise is kidding themselves. Liverpool have won the league, and congratulations to them. They've been the best team so far this season. But I personally said that the league was over after we lost 2-0 to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
That's another thing Ryan said as well. He also said Alexis McAllister is just an Argentinian Harry Winks.
Yeah,
he said
that. Respect Harry Winks.
He's a crazy guy.
Harry Winks is going to be English Shabby at one stage. So.
Tom, welcome to the front of the class, is what Wayne says here. Joshua Jack with a question says, if you guys get 20 losses and he stays, what next?
He's only 4 defeats away from equaling our worst ever season in a top flight division.
What season was that?
That would have been
one day Ramos won it.
08-09.
No, we didn't have that many. We didn't have as many defeats we've got now.
Yeah,
the year after.
I think we've got 3 games before we play the Europa League, and that's Chelsea away, which is a defeat. We've got to play Forest in there, which is a defeat, and we've also got to play Liverpool away. So just sack him now.
There we go. Crypto FFTV says, great stream. Thank you very much for the super chat and donation. I really, really appreciate that as well.